Monday morning. Sun's not even out today. It looks like it's going to be overcast, and so it's kind of dreary and everything. Um, Let me do my tweet real quick before I forget, and then we should be ready. So last week we were on my alts plot, celery greenleaf, and we were going over things for a guild event that I'm planning for Easter. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to host one because for various reasons, I'll just say. And but the more I got into it, the more I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and try. Good morning, Soccer Top. Glad you could join us. Um, So the thing is, there's different kinds of events. There's ones that you really have to do a lot of hands-on, not only before for all the planning and preparation and everything, but for the actual event itself, where um, it's like you have to be there, everybody has to meet up a certain hour, maybe there's a certain location that you have to be, whether it be out in the open world, on a plot, whatever. Um, but when you plan something like that, you get into the thing of like people's schedules not allowing them to go on a certain day or a certain time or whatever. So there's always kind of an issue. I mean, it's like with raiding, when a guild is trying to choose the raid nights that work best for the majority of people, there's always going to be someone that has to get left out or doesn't get to attend as often as they'd like because the hours and the times and everything just don't match perfectly with their own personal schedule. And it's the same way with guild events. And so I'm always looking for ways to provide like entertainment for the guild um, that doesn't require a whole lot of organization as far as tying them down to one location or tying them down to a specific set of hours, like from evening hours, like 8 to 10 or something like that. Obviously, you're not going to have an event that, you know, regularly at least, that spans everything comfortably for everyone. But I think the last event with the Valentine's Day, we picked a specific day, a specific evening, a specific set of hours, and this time I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit more loose for those that might want to participate and a little hands off for me. So there's going to be a lot of prep involved as far as building what I want to set the scene for them. But once the event is actually there, the day of the event, I don't even have to be present. It'll all be up to them. And it's going to be like, you open the door, and then for the entire day, they could just, do their thing. And then it's the day after that I have to do a little bit of checking on things to see how it went. And I'll explain what I mean by that here shortly. So anyway, as you'll recall, we were on my alts plot. It's used to be called the CBDC Creation Station. That was more geared towards the monthly custom built decor challenge that I would do for the guild. And I just kind of got rid of all that. I did save the sets of the bingo hall and the swimming pool and a few other things that I didn't want to lose. But as you can see, over the last couple of days, the weekend basically, I've been busy setting the scene for a guild event that I would like to host. Basically, what it's going to be is I'm going to set up an Easter egg hunt. I've done this in the past, sort of. I used pillows instead of actual like egg-looking type of objects, and I wanted to do a little bit more elaborate kind of thing this time. Before it was on a plot that I already had built, and I just planted pillows all around. I'd stick them in the bookshelves and inside plants and in the high grass and everything. And I wanted to build something since this is an alts plot that has been kind of neglected for a while. She's been usually just used for testing things and quick little ideas and stuff, I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and give her something a little specific. Hey, Maddie, glad you could join us. So as you can see, over the past couple of days, I've been busy trying to set up kind of a scene. I want it to be kind of springy, but not anything, we don't have a lot of pastel-y colors as far as building, so it's not like you can make a pink house or anything unless you want to build it out of pillows and make it look a little weird. But I really wasn't sure if I wanted to go like a complete farm or just kind of a little farmhouse. So I'm envisioning this as just a little cottage out in the woods. And as we go, I'll be adding little features here and there. Mainly, I'm just trying to dress up the property so that I have extra hiding places for the eggs. I'm not going to say how many eggs in total that I'll be hiding because I want them to be guessing as far as how many they, if they find, say, 25, maybe they think, well, I must have found them all by now because I don't see any other new places that I have. And then to come find out that maybe there was 26, they missed one or something. So I'm not going to tell them how many I hide, but I am going to show them, I'm going to take a little screenshot of each type of egg that I'm going to hide around the plot so that they kind of know what they're looking for, but I'm hoping to kind of, some of them will be kind of just clearly there's no hiding involved, and others will be a little bit more sneaky, hopefully. So the idea is I want to give myself a lot of hiding places for eggs, so it could be anywhere on the plot. Now, one of the main goals that I did for this particular thing was I wanted to make it so they couldn't enter the little makeshift, not makeshift, the pre-made home. There's actually nothing inside it, and it's not that it would be against the rules to go in there, but the way that I've built the little hill that it's on and the way I've covered it up, if you go inside the home and then exit the home, you exit inside the hill. So you kind of appear in a limbo kind of, you're just stuck. So I wanted to avoid them getting stuck. So I had a few fellow builders yesterday test it for me, and I've had to add some extra little beefing up on the front, trying to avoid having the little button appear. Sometimes if you're close enough to the door or to an interactable feature, it will say, here, you want to open the door or sit on it or whatever, and it would try and let you get in. And I'm hoping I've successfully blocked it completely so they don't actually accidentally get stuck. That's the main thing. But today, the main goal today is to work on some egg patterns. You might recall the ones that we did last week. We did a few using mushrooms and pillows. And I really liked how they turn out because it really does look like a little decorated egg. But first, I think it might be wise to go ahead and explain what all I've done here so far and what I've used to build it, just to kind of answer any questions that folks might have as far as what I've made. You'll see that I went ahead and got rid of the squarish tent. I kept it on the plot for quite a while and I just couldn't figure out where I wanted to put it, so I decided I would just make it kind of like as they come in the plot, there's this little party area right here, and then that's where they would kind of get their instructions and move out into the plot, and then the plot be their like little playground and where they look for the eggs. So I basically kind of set it up as a little starter position. This is where they come. This is like if this was a quest giver kind of thing, this would be where the quest giver stands. This is where he would say, okay, you need to collect X amount of eggs, and then you get a little reward kind of thing. So I basically just moved the little round tent that we made last week over here, and then I've added some string lights and little light poles because the sky that I picked, which is I think it's called the Happy Sky, it does have a day-night cycle. And so I do want to have some kind of lights on the plot, but I'm not going to put them everywhere. So, if someone comes to go hunting for eggs in the dark, uh, it might be a little tough for them to spot some of the eggs. But I definitely wanted some lights here, and I'll probably be putting some around the little house itself too. But these are just the fancy hanging lamps. They're the ones that normally you would have them hanging on the ceiling, but myself and a lot of others tend to use them as like a little pole. And it just worked out right that with the new Granox string lights that you can get straight off of the vendor, it just worked out that the little loopiness, it makes it look like a nice little string light setup kind of thing. Um, for the little party area, I'm still working on it. You can see I've made a little crate out of some uh, deck pieces. It's just the short deck. Made a little crate, stuffed it with some bags. I'm working on a carrot cake. It's just a triple tiered bit of trophy, the gear trophies. And I've got the bottom part, the part that I don't want showing, hidden with the crates. You can see that it's underneath the table there. And of course, carrot plushies. I had some extras, so I'm using those as decoration for the cake itself. Because it's supposed to be like a little party kind of thing. So. The baskets are just bowls with the hanging cables used as the handles. It's very simple. I wanted to keep it pretty basic. I didn't want to go too small because, again, the further away you go, the less detail is visible. But I wanted to make it kind of feel like your character could come and pick one of these up and carry it around, collecting their eggs. And you'll see that I've already placed a few eggs inside the baskets. This is the one that we designed last week that I kind of fell in love with. I like the colorfulness of it. It's the type of egg that really, no matter where you put it, it will more than likely be pretty visible. But the idea is, as we come up with egg designs, I'm just going to kind of, fill up the baskets in preparation of the event. Then the evening or day before the event, I'm going to close the plot, set it to private, and then I will spend however long it takes, and I will just distribute all of these eggs all over the property. And so the baskets will be empty on the day of the event. Kind of just my way of showing, okay, there's some progression going on here. Once the eggs are all hidden, the following morning, I will open the plot back up to the public, and my guildmates will be free to come anytime during that day to try to hunt for the eggs. And the way they will prove that they have found these eggs is to take screenshots. And I will probably ask them to be a little specific with some wording with the screenshot. Like if they take a screenshot of an egg at the base of a tree, they can't just leave it at that. They have to say, okay, this is the tree that's in the left corner of the back of the plot or something. Because I'm sure there's going to be other trees. So they need to be as precise about it as they can, just so that I'm sure of which ones they found and which ones they haven't. Let's see. The trees themselves, for most of it, is just the new hedges. It's, I can select one here. Oh, let's grab just one. It's the bramble hedge, just the straight up one, not the leaning one. You could use the leaning one if you wanted. It just happened to be that the straight up one, the regular one, looked to me like a clump of trees. So really, typically, I guess it would be considered a bush, but I'm using it as like a very quick, simple forest type of thing. So you have this foresty area, and then inside the forest is this large clearing, and that's where this little scene is being set up. For most of the structures, I've been using Draken fences. It's for Yeah, most of it is the curved ones, the long curved fence Draken. I just made a circle with them, and then I just duplicated that circle and reduced the size to make this little bit of a windmill tower thing. I used some hover part pieces for the topper, and of course the new windmill blade. I had a spare one of those to use for it. And then the door is just a couple of tree pictures stacked on top of each other, mostly so that there wouldn't be a gap. Um, the little hill bits or big giant rocks are just Hugel statues. I had a bunch of these left over from when we did the fish for the CBDC challenge way back when. So I thought, well, I'll just use those just to give a little bit of contour difference. I had thought about trying to make actual grassy hills, but I couldn't find any grass that I really felt matched the celestial ground nicely. So I just left them bare. So it's just giant rocks. Just happen to be that thing. The hill is created through the snowy hills. You'll see my character tromping across the thing and spitting out little dust balls of the snow. That's because it's the snowy hill. It's basically three of them, and they're sized just slightly smaller as it goes up to make that tiered effect. And then I've just trimmed it with more of the Draken fences to hide the edges. Okay, Poi, welcome to the show. I'm glad you could join us. Um, Same way with this. This is the curved wall plus, or the curved fence plus some of the straight ones. That's the only thing. It's the main structure building that I'm using is just the fence pieces. The G for Greenleaf is made with plates, and it took a while to kind of get things tilted just the right way so that you only see parts of the plate to try and get that nice G shape. Um, let's see, the little slanted part here, that the ramp leading up to it is another snowy hill. And again, I've used the fence pieces to just kind of hide all of the areas that don't really match up nicely. Because when you kind of try to put two of the snowy hills together, they're not going to, it's all like straight jagged edges and they're not going to mesh smoothly. So you have to find ways to kind of disguise that. And so a combination of overgrowth bits here and there and the Draken fences, that's what helps cover it up. And that's why this is kind of a little funny shaped. I'll see if I can show here without messing this up. Can you see the pointy bit where the two aren't quite meeting just right? It's the circle, the bottom of one snowy hill here, and then another one for the ramp, and there's like a little bit of a gap. It's probably easier to see from a different angle, but I just, done my best to kind of hide it. And that's why some of this overgrowth sticks out a little oddly in places, but I figured, well, if it's like some kind of a little weird rosebush thing, maybe it's not growing perfectly into a nice shape, so it might make sense. You can see that I've decided to use the tiers kind of like a garden space. So I just went around thinking, okay, what kind of plants can I get a hold of in a large amount, relatively easy. I didn't want to use plants that, required or that came from world drops and that kind of thing that were a little bit more difficult to get. And I tried to refrain from using a lot of renown, though I do have a bit of that on hand to spend. So I picked things that you can craft or that you can just easily get from, like, say, a vendor, a reputation vendor, that kind of thing. or just straight from the housing vendor. I wasn't quite sure if the glowing Space Suite stuff would work nicely, but because I was afraid it would be a little too bright. And from a distance, it depending on the angle that you look, some of it looks brighter than the other. This, you're looking at it kind of like straight on with the little line, so it looks more full than this side. But if you start moving the other direction, then this side looks more full and this looks a little gappy. So it just depends on how you look at it. So when you go to take screenshots, you'll have to plan that out, kind of everything. But basically for the garden areas, I've used on the bottom tier, I used the weeping cup flowers, the little patches. I didn't keep track of how many each one took, but the idea is whatever I use on this side is the same amount I use over there. I don't copy it. I don't like make a set of the flowers and then move them over. I just kind of freehand it all to make it look as sort of as natural as possible. But the arrangement is basically the same. So it's kind of a mirrored but not, kind of a asymmetrical looking kind of thing. Then we've got the yellow flowers, those come from the vendor. And then we have the Space Suite. That's for the first tier. Now we did have a little bit of overgrowth clumps, and those are mostly to cover up any gaps. Because remember, I'm trying to blend the top part of the snowy hill, that's a layer there, to match it up nicely with the curves here, but obviously the shape of the snowy hill is not scalloped like that, so there's a little bit of gaps in some of them, so I used overgrowth to kind of hide that. On the next tier, we used the spiral leaf teal plants. We've got a few of the weeping umbrellas, and then just a bunch of ferns to kind of fill in the last little bit. So I kept kind of to a bluish purple on the top and then a white yellow to the bottom. And like I said, the plan is to repeat that on this side. You can see I've already started some of that. Here I've got the bottom tier pretty much done. I just still need to finish putting in the second one. You can see a little better here how I had to kind of cover things up. Like here you can see the line of the snowy hill, and the overgrowth just kind of helps hide that little bit of yuckiness. There's actually this bit of extra, like a little individual tiers of the draken fences here, and I like the way that looks, but as I started packing in the plants, it kind of covers that up. So I don't know if I might lower some of this down so that shows better or not. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I might end up putting a few little plants inside these little bits here, just to kind of emphasize that there's an extra little tier in those locations. Again, because the snowy hill doesn't match up nicely, I had to use a lot of overgrowth here, and I just ended up making it a little bigger than it probably needed to be to kind of say this is where some bushes are going to be there. And I just started putting in some roses, and since I did a lot of red roses for the Valentine's plot, I decided I would go with white this time, just to be different. The house itself, it's mostly just the regular, I guess it's called the cozy granite version of the house, and I've just added a few bits to the front. Again, it's mostly to block folks being able to get into it. I'm sure there's probably going to be somebody that will figure out a way to get in, but I'm trying to avoid them getting stuck. Just a reminder, if you do get stuck in a plot because you fall through a crack or you pop in somewhere where you shouldn't, there is a crystal. You can't really see it on my controller here, but there is a return to teleporter. It looks like a little blue purplish shiny crystal button on the rest of your housing controls. Let's see if I can move this thing here. If you use that, that will put you right back at the front of the plot on the teleport pad. So that's one way to get out of that without, trying to kill yourself or something or whatever. But I just wanted to keep it simple for them so that they didn't fall into that trap. For the little area up here, I wanted to kind of make it a little homely. So I added a few things, and I'm still working on what all I'm going to do it, how I want to arrange it. So some of these pieces that you're going to see or that you're seeing may not actually stay there. I may rearrange them as time goes on, depending on what all else I add. But let's go over what I've used for covering up the entrance. Mostly it's that tree picture again. It's just a bunch of those because I like the wood. It's not as dark as this one. Probably maybe the picnic table would have been a better choice, but I didn't want to have to mess with the legs of the table. So I just decided to go with the picture tree. So I've used that for not only this little awning, but the base of it and for the door as well. Then because I was covering up the actual door, I needed a kind of a faux door, so I've layered several pieces here. This is the colorful orange window, the back side. Then we have a smaller one, which looks like it needs a little fixing there. On the front, then we have the orange one layered behind that. So just kind of gives it a little bit of something extra. I actually might want to turn this a little bit. I thought about putting a handle on it somewhere, but I just thought, no, I'm just going to leave it off because generally speaking, you probably won't see it anyway. And I couldn't think of, I kept using, I started to use like one of the orange windows, like tiny here for the door handle, and that looked weird. And I don't know, if I find a metal piece or something that I like maybe the Chewa cup, I might end up going with that. I might put one in, but for now I don't think it's too necessary. To cover the corners, those were the last little bits that were giving me trouble. I was able to like stand up in the corner where the Hugel's sitting now and still have access to the house. So I just plunked these two Hugel statues inside there to kind of block it off, and hopefully will keep folks out of the house. And it still kind of keeps it a little bit more orany than granite-y, hopefully, so that works. You'll see I've already started putting in some little orange type windows, and I'm matching them to these little pimple looking things, little stones. And I have several windows in storage, so I'm going to see about which ones look better, and just to kind of oranize it up and make it look, see I've added a few here, a little bit more colorful than it is now. But essentially I wanted to leave it pretty much left untouched. I like the roof, I like the chimney thing and all the extra little rocky bits. So I didn't want to cover it entirely up, which I could have, but I didn't want to. Okay, as for the little bench, that's just white picket fence pieces. It's mostly just, it's like 3 for the back, 3 for the seating, 3 for the front legs, and 3 for the back legs. And then fence posts for the armrests on the side. I actually just did this yesterday. I was playing around with the bench idea because I was thinking about making maybe some little garden pots or some kind of little thing here that I wanted to kind of dress up this little area. But I started playing around with the bench after I made this little chair and table set. It's all white picket fence pieces as well. It's basically 4 fence pieces for the chairs, and then the table is I think it's 4 fence pieces altogether for this. And I know that seems excessive because you could probably get away with maybe 2 to get the pattern that you want, the little crosshatch. But I noticed that if I left it just the 2, then it seemed unfinished because there's this one piece right here that you'll see is repeated. Well, if you leave it at 2, then these 2 don't show up because that piece is just on one side of the fence. So I just put 4 pieces all together. So you can't really tell if there's 4 there, but there is. And that's how I got the completed pattern. The base of it is a combination of 2 of the fence posts for this part, and then 1 large one sunk down to give it the table a little bit of a base. And that's it. Pretty simple. The flower vases are just the regular come as is pink and I guess green orange vases, and then I've added flowers, and I made sure to use some that actually appear in the garden, as if whoever lives here would snip off a few from their little garden and would, you know, put them on display in the vases. Um, Probably the most easy, I say easy and it looks complicated, but it was really easy to make, is the hatch, um, little cross hatch looking flooring for this little patio thing. Uh, Basically, it's wooden 2x4s. Um, I'll pull one out here. It's just the very tip top of them showing. Because I wanted, you know, these little blocks of wood, and we do have the metal edged wooden blocks, but I didn't want metal. I wanted it all wood. So I just decided I'm just going to use the end of the 2x4s. So I wanted to make a nice little pattern, and I saw where sometimes when you have like decking or even flooring in the floor of, you know, of your home inside, they have these little tiles that look like there's strips of wood, and then they alternate it, and that's just what I did here. So a square of this pattern is basically 3 pieces of wood, and then I change the direction and it's 3 pieces, 3, 3, so on and so forth. So when I started, I made one pattern, I copied it, pasted it, rotated it, then I made those 2 a set, copied and pasted them, and then I had 4, and then I made a set of the 4, and then I had 8, and that's as big as I wanted to go. So then I just um, made a set of 1 strip and laid it down, moved it a little bit to get it the offset so it wouldn't be exactly matched. So you get that nice little, I don't know, basket weavy pattern. And then set up the full line for that. And then I copied the 2, and that made the 4 wide. And then I made a set of the 4 wide, and then I doubled that. And voila, you have this nice little patterned square. Very simple, but it looks pretty nifty, in my opinion. I really like it, how it turned out. And then I just took a couple of the squares, lowered it a little bit to make it look like a little step going up to it. The top is just the fruit trellises, the small ones. It's just a massive amount of those crisscrossed and everything. You can tell if you really look closely, there's like parts bent out of shape because it's not a really straight piece of decor. It's all crooked and bent, and you know, they don't really match up to each other, but I don't mind that. I think it looks okay. The pillars for the corners is those same logs that we used for the log cabin. I told you I saved one of the logs by itself, and that's what I used. I just turned it upright, copied it over for the 4 corners, and there you have it. That's the patio. Very, it didn't really take any time at all. It was mostly just coming up with the idea. I did a lot of Googling for different patio kind of things. I specifically wanted it to have a trellis type of topping, and so I basically probably took several different versions and then combined different elements for each into one of my own, and kept it like that. Let's see, I think that's really all else that I've done. I've put down a few of the new ginkgo trees, but that's pretty much all that we've done so far. It's come along nicely, but it's really it's just been a few hours here, a few hours there. Like I said, if any of you that were here last week on Friday will know that this place was virtually blank. So it's a big change from what it was before. But there you go. So you'll see that this morning I quickly put together this little egg shape. It's just 4 Draken domes. It's 4 pieces. Turned it into a set. It's, you know, you got the top piece. There's another one, slightly bigger one, and then the bottom. The main thing I was trying to do was see if I could make a nice egg shape with the dome pieces, and it looks pretty eggy, I think. The eggs that I made last week, they're a little bit more uniform as far as being pointy on both ends. So they're not like true egg shapes, but they're close enough, I think. But this one looks more eggy because an egg usually has a wider end on one side, and on the other end it's a little bit more pointy. So I think this is pretty close. The only thing that I didn't want to do, the reason I didn't want to use these straight away was because I was really wanting to make the eggs bright and colorful like the little ones that we have over here. So I've selected some decor that I think will work, hopefully, to kind of keep things bright, pastel-y looking, colorful. But I am probably going to use a few of these natural ones, but I'm going to mix and match up the pieces to kind of give some different designs. So like if we took this one, I'm going to make a set of this real quick. See, I'm bad. I sometimes don't name my sets, and that's a bad habit. Don't do that. Don't be like me. So I'm going to take this and add the link set. I'm going to say Drake and egg, which sounds weird. You know, maybe this is where Drake and baby's coming from. I don't know. And I'm going to do the usual reload UI just to make sure it's saved. And thanks, Soccer Top. I appreciate that. Okay, and then bring up the add-on again, just to make sure it's there. Yep, there it is, number 16. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a second one. We're just going to push it out here. And then I'm going to, let's see what kind of nose we got. Let's do it 201 as well. So maybe I want to give it a 2 atop instead of the Draken top. So I'd copy that one. And the thing is, with the 201 kind of overlaying the other one, you might have trouble selecting. If it comes to it, you can use the decor place list to kind of sort through it. But thankfully, I'm able to select the Draken one, and I'm just going to say Syndicate. So now it's got this little funny looking cap thing, and I'm going to do the same with this one. Paste. And you can see how it's flashy. And just make sure it's the Draken one that you selected, and now it's this weird little striped up patterny looking thing. I could probably make it even more complex by adding additional layers so that there's a lot more stripes, that kind of thing. But this is just a quick sample of how you can mix and match the domes to kind of change up the egg so that it's not completely one solid color. That's the only reason I'm setting this up like that. So the other items that I thought, since the domes work so nicely, I started looking through the decor for other dome or circle shaped type of items. Basically anything round I was aiming for. So there is the ocular sphere you could probably use. The only downside to that one is, as far as I'm aware, it's a world drop item. So unless you happen to have a lot in storage or on hand or whatever, that one might be kind of tough to come by. But it does have a nice color as long as you have the, the iris part turned inward. You would just see that nice, well, kind of veiny red on the back side. And that would probably work nice for a really shiny, pretty egg. And then you could, add some extra bits of something else to kind of break it up if you wanted. But I do have some extra sporty spears. I don't even recall why I have this many. I have no idea what I used them for in the past. This doesn't come to me as far as what in the world I needed spears. I want to say it was, I honestly don't know. I don't know what I used them for, but so what I do is when I make these eggs, I work in a larger scale, so it's easier to see. And then I just shrink them down later when I want to use them for the actual bits. So you have the one sphere, and then you just start kind of tweaking the sizes. I don't really go by like, well, it has to be 2.5 or whatever. I just start sizing, and later I might adjust it to a specific kind of thing. Because like I think originally this was like 0.47, and this one was 0.33, and I changed them to 45 and 35 just to make it a little bit more uniform. And it ended up coming out nicely. And I'll probably do the same with this, but just for the beginning shape, you keep it just kind of a little loose. You don't really pay too much attention to that. So I'm going to size this one down. So there, you kind of have a bluish sort of eggy shape-ish. It's one of those things you just kind of keep playing with until you figure out how long it is or whatever. So 3 probably could work, but I'm going to see if an additional layer like these, the 4 layers, will help. And see if that makes it a little bit more, starting to look a little too weird. I think the 3 will be all right for the, I don't know. What do you think, 3 or 4? I'm also looking at this pattern here that's starting to shape up, how facey it looks. Does that look a little too much? It doesn't look as clumpy as the other one. Not sure what I did there. I could try and use like the same, see if that works. I don't know if that would, let's see, 2.5. And that one also the same. Maybe that's it. See, the trouble is this is perfectly round. It's not that little half dome, so that might not work exactly right. And that one's a little off. Others only have 3, 2, just make the ball 2 on top. Not sure I understand that, but oops. That looks a little better. Like I said, it's not going to have to be perfect because it's going to be shrunk down for one, pretty tiny, and you just want a general shape. And it's kind of lumpy shaped anyway because it's a soccer ball looking thing. So that's still using 4 pieces. So that's another egg for us that we can use. Okay, the other one that I thought about might could work is the metal bowl. Let's see, I don't think I have any of that. Wow, comes in really tiny. Where is he? There he is. Now this we could probably get away with just using a couple. This will be one of those kind of not quite ideal eggy, but close enough kind of thing. Got a design already, so you don't have to do a lot of, decorating on it. That's kind of an egg shape, a little bit. Maybe you could, let's see. Make it extra a little bit. I don't know, it looks more like a vase to me instead of an egg. But you get the idea. You're mostly looking for egg shape-ish stuff. Another one was, let's see, I don't know if I have any. Yeah, overgrown cactus. I wanted to give this a try. It's probably not going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Red balloons probably could work if you don't mind the strings. If you're just going to use just the red just sitting on the ground, that would probably work. But you would have to contend with that they move a bit. And that you can only have them basically, always on the ground where the string wouldn't show. So it's not like I could easily hide them on something that may not have, may not be thick enough to hide the string, that kind of thing. Like in the crook of a tree, where you may have trouble positioning the string just so it doesn't show. I don't know if this will work because all in silly spiky things, but we're going to try it. Like a really not so nice egg. A little flat looking from one direction, but from the other it's not too bad. Too bad. Let's see, what else? I didn't want to go with anything that was interactable, like lights or seats or benches or anything, although there might be a few bits that could probably work for that. So yeah, I think bowls, domes, and pillows would probably be the ones that most folks would stick with. So like the Chua ones, I think they're a little more awkward. You'd probably have to use more to get a nice round shape. The pillows with the tassels on them, depending on what you're aiming for, you might could make that work for you. It might act as extra decoration. In fact, we'll just place those there. Then we got the green pillows and just the purple ones, and then the star one. I'm not sure if all of these are readily available, so we'll just test it out. Yeah, so this one comes from the vendor. So essentially you'd start with the one, and then you'd start, I guess, layering it up. Try and get your eggy shape. Something sort of like that. Don't want to do it too much, but something along those lines. So then you have a purple egg. Again, like with the other ones, you could probably mix and match, especially these two here, since they're both round purple pillows. You could probably do the same with them, mix and match it. So you could like put this one in place of the other, just to give it a different pattern. You'll have to tweak it a little bit because they're, you know, the pillows are different shapes. Even though they're both round pillows, they're a little lumpy in certain places, so something like that. The green ones, they're square, but you could still probably get away with making an eggy shape with them. Start off with just, for me, I would probably rotate them a bit. Almost kind of like what we did with the tree during the Winterfest holiday. We made a tower of green pillows for a tree. This one, of course, I think will take a lot more, just because the pillow itself is a little thin. So it takes more to kind of build it up. Oops, the alternate one. Looks like a pillow sandwich. Something along those lines. Now you have a greenish pillow eggy thing. Wet add-on is at the bottom of my screen. Are you talking about this one here that pops up when I select an item? That would be Laments. I believe it's the Toolbox Pro, which is an extension of the Housing Set Decor Manager. I think that's the name of her or his original one. It's supposed to be an accompaniment to the main one. I don't really use the main one. I just use the one that pops up here because it's handy, because it automatically triggers when you select an item. If you're interested in finding out more about Laments add-on or Katya's, which I use frequently as well, There's links to both of those add-ons in my the resources section on my Twitch channel page. Just scroll down and you'll see the whole listing. There's a lot of other resource type things there, but the add-ons are listed as well. That's why, even though Katya's actually has a copy feature, I find Laments just handier because it auto triggers when you select an item. Katya's, you actually have to type in /Katya to get the add-on to show up. And it's really small. You can see it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It just pops up right there, and you can move it wherever you want if you prefer it, somewhere else. That's a little more convenient for you. That's up to you. But I just like the convenience of it, that it auto triggers when you select an item. And if I'm just doing some quick copy paste, I'm not doing sets or anything or whatever, this is totally my preferred copy tool. But like I said, Katya's has it as well. You can select copy. But I tend to use that one for, like, say I have, let's just use this pillow here, for instance. Make it a little bigger so we can see what we're doing. So, like, say I place a pillow here, and then I duplicate it with my usual way of using Laments, and I put it right here, and I place it. And I want to do a third one or fourth, fifth, and so on, but I want them to be evenly spaced so that there's that same gap. Then I would use Katya's, because you can actually set it up so that it spaces it out evenly. So you would select the first one where your original would be and hit that copy. Make sure that the first slot is your choice right here. Then you select the second one and you change this to 2, and you say you want to copy the second. Okay? So then to get the new pillow out, you would say clone, which is basically Katya's copy thing. Clone. It pops up on the last one that you copied. Then you hit the difference key, and boop, there it is. It's exactly spaced the same amount as the original was moved. And you just keep doing that. Just keep hitting the difference key until it comes out to where you want. It's really great for stairs, and if you're doing a lot of fencing or whatever. Setting up there, like make a bench and you want several cushions lined up just so you can have that really fast. So let's see if we can make a pink pillow with tassels that looks like an egg. So with this one, let's see about leaving them straight rather than alternating it like I did with the green cushions. I'm going to leave it the same position. And see if that's doable. Now again, I'm just eyeballing the distance that I'm putting them, the size that I'm making them. Later, if I decide I like kind of how it looks, then I might clean it up a little bit more as far as position and size and all of that. But right now we're just kind of winging it. Again, notice even though Katya's is right there and I could use that as the copy, I continue to use this one. It's just a habit. Like I tell others that kind of come and say, oh, I'd like to give them a try. I say, try them both and see which one works best for you. For me, it's a combination of the two. I have preferences in certain situations that I prefer to have to use Katya's, and in other situations I prefer to use Laments. It's like the linking. When you're linking objects and making a set of them, like for instance, we made a set of this little tent structure. There's several ways you can go about that, and in fact, I will explain one here shortly. Just gonna add a couple more little bits here. I don't really like this one, but it's an example. So let's take one that's, well, let's just use the green pillow as an example. So say I want to make a set of these pillows. Now, there are several ways you can go about it. You can do individually and create it, or you can use, like, say I want to do a set of this. Normally, I would probably, first I'd pick the parent item, and I usually always go for the bottom as the parent, because when you do a relocate, when you're like placing the set, it will start with the parent. So if you pick the top and then you stand somewhere and you say I'm going to relocate here, it will put that top one right down into the ground so that the rest of it kind of is hidden. And I've had trouble in the past where sometimes things don't go quite right, so I just found it easier to always select the bottom piece as the parent. That's just my preference, but you can do it a different way. But this is the way I typically link stuff. Now, I could, using laments, just right-click the item. I'd say I want to link it, and then I would just right-click the item that I want to link, and then I click the parent with a right-click, and that should link the two. So you got the two now. That's sometimes how I do it. And sometimes I prefer that way because I have a little bit more control over what gets selected, especially if you're in a room full of things. Like, you don't want to link all of these bits up together. It's just easier for me to select individual pieces. But since I know I just want this one egg and nothing else uses the green pillows in this general area, I can select the bottom one, and using Laments add-on, I can say automatically link nearby decor. Now, right now, it will take anything that's within this radius, so that would probably include this egg and part of that one and so forth. But to narrow it down even further, either I can change the radius to make sure that it's a little bit more confined, or I could leave it as it originally was and just say link only like decor, and that means that it will only link the green pillows together. So you say link, and it should have the entire set. Voila. Now, Katya's has linking as well, but I tend not to use that. I don't know, it's just the way I tend not to use hers for the linking. But yeah, the auto link feature is really handy. Now that's Laments add-on that I'm using for that. I find it really helpful if it's something like this. It's kind of out away from certain areas. But like I said, if you're in like a custom home and you just want to link the table and you're inside the kitchen, you don't want the whole kitchen to be linked. You just want the table. But maybe some of the table parts are also being used for the cabinetry and that kind of thing. In that instance, I would probably do a selected item by item. But that's not always convenient if you have a lot of overlapping of items where only just small pieces of it are showing. It's a little more difficult. So the radius one would work, but you'd have to make sure you kind of narrow that radius down tightly around the table area that you want. And I think the radius works. It's not just horizontally, but it also the same amount of distance vertically as well. So think of it as like a ball. It just doesn't show it as a ball, it shows it as a disc kind of thing. So yeah, for linking, I prefer Laments. And for the quick copy paste, I prefer Laments as well. But for most other things, if I'm like now that I have this set, while Laments has the feature where you can save sets through that add-on and recall them. I don't use it for that. I use Katya's. So like if I want to make a set, save a set of this, I would go to the set manager on Katya's and just we'll say egg. Uh, green pillow egg. And then I say add linked set. I think I unlinked it just then. Hold on. Yeah, I think I just accidentally unlinked it. So it should, there we go. Hear that. So green pillow egg, and then I'll add the link set, and it should have them all. And again, when you make a new set, just to make sure that it safely gets saved to your disk, do a reload UI. I'm overly cautious, so I do that after every time I make a new set. And then we have the set there. Now I'll show you what I mean by choosing the parent wisely. So we know that the parent for this set is this bottom green pillow. So if I want to put in a new one, usually if I'm just goofing around like where I am now, I would just say place all a link, and it would just layer it right on top. And I'm going to show how that works. So I'm just going to say place all link, and it'll put it exactly where the original is. And all you have to do is, because it's exactly the same, you can just grab the bottom pillow. It'll pick one of the sets, and you can move it safely across. Easy peasy. But, you know, there's other ways you can do it. You could say maybe you made the egg on the outside of your plot, but you want to put it on the interior, so you can't just click and drag it over, right? So we're going to pretend this is inside the house, okay? Because we actually can't go in right now, but say we're inside the instance part. So I can't just paste it where it was originally and drag it through the instance, right? So I would say I want this set in the house. I would say stand where I want it, hit the relocate button, move away however far you feel like you need to go, and then say place all in link. And boop, there it is, right where I was standing. And notice the bottom is right on the floor. If I had chosen the parent as the top, it would have come in like this, and you would see just the top of it. So I always say it's safer to use the bottom parts typically as the parent item. Just my own tip for myself. That's how I do it. I used to do it differently in the past, and I kind of run into things because in the past I did have situations where it would like be linked to the top, and only the top would be showing, and then when I moved the top, some of the parts got left behind, and it acted like it wasn't linked to it anymore. So I'd have to go hunt and peck because I couldn't see the items. They were underneath the ground, of course. I had to use the place decor list to try and hunt them down and everything. So from then on, I always use the bottom item as the parent, or a bottom item. It's just easier. That way, wherever you relocate it, everything's always visible. So if anything goes wonky, you should be able to kind of rescue things a little easier. So yeah, that's just some quickie lessons about Katya's Limits add-on. I'm not a pro at using either add-on. It's just what I've picked up by just using it. I feel like both of them have a bit of a learning curve. Katya's maybe more than the other, because there's just so many features that are built into Katya's add-on that aren't intuitively picked up. So like some of the commands, like her K snapshot and K reconstruct. I don't think that's even a button on the add-on. Not even one of her tools. And basically that add-on is like, say I have this whole plot built, and then later I decide I want, instead of using this makeshift windmill, I want the actual windmill fab kit. Imagine the horror of putting in a new fab kit and having half my plot disappear because it removed it to make room for the new fab kit. So what those features for Katya's add-on does, the K reconstruct and the K snapshot, is the snapshot takes a quickie picture, like it remembers for a moment, you know, where everything is. Then you put in the new, you know, fab kit that you want to put in, or switch one out if you decided you got one but you want a different one in that place. And then do a K reconstruct. After it's done its damage, it will rebuild everything that was where it once was. It's really handy for those that like to change out the fab kits on a regular basis, but don't want to lose everything they've put in so far. So, but like I said, those are things that, you know, aren't readily known about the add-on. So there's a lot of things that I don't even use, like you'll hardly ever see me use the average button. I kind of know what it's supposed to do, but I don't use it enough, I guess. I don't practice with it enough. But I think it's supposed to do, like, say you have 2 poles and you want to put a pole right in the middle of the other 2, the average tool in conjunction with some other stuff, it will figure out and put a pole right in the center of the 2 other items. It's really handy for those that remember how to use it, but I forget, so I tend. But the main ones I use on hers is the copy, the clone, and the difference. Those are my favorite, and of course the set managers. I use that quite a bit. So yeah, that's a lot of variety of as far as possibilities of eggs. There are probably other things you could use, like was mentioned, the balloon, and there's even the actual eggs, like the spider eggs. You could just use those. That's perfectly fine. There's the scug eggs, I think. Yeah, there's a purple one. If you just want to keep it simple, those would probably be the best, the easiest. Yeah, soccer. I like the decor shopper as well. If you don't know what that is one of the tools here. It's called the decor shopper. When you first set it up, you would want to do a scan. I think it's like 4,000 or something items. It doesn't take too long. It's like a few minutes. You let it do its scan. Then you're allowed to search for things. You can either search it by just regular terms, like say you want to do fire, and search for anything that's got fire in the name. So campfire, fire pit, firewood, and it will give you kind of previews of some things that they have set up in the game code, but they haven't actually turned alive. So there's some like elements like here, like we have a bundle of firewood or just a pile, and they're coming, but they just haven't hit live yet that I know of. But it's really handy for if you're wanting to kind of preview something a little closer. You don't have to go much further than Katya's add-on to kind of check it out, see what it does. Obviously, the preview is limited to the preview that's already in the game. We don't have a full 360 kind of thing. You can just rotate it here, but you know, it's handy. You're looking, you know, if you're trying to find things that, you know, have skulls in it, you know, then you can just search Drake and stuff and all that. You can also search by type and say you want everything that's banners and flags section, and we'll pull up all of that. Or if you're just looking for, you know, WildStar stuff, it will do that. The only thing is you've got to kind of hit the name right. See, like these two wouldn't come up with the search term WildStar. But if you look for billboard, that would come up, all of those, and anything else. Or like if you're looking for something specifically blue or whatever, you might use blue as a term, but you still would be missing a lot of things like this is blue, but it's just called banner terrain. So things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are there but not there, like these streamers, minion streamer. But it's fun to look at and check it out and daydream about what you could do with it once it becomes alive. The only thing I wish the shopper did have was additional information as far as where item could go. I know it has like the Jabbit hole search thing. I guess you could take that, copy it, and then paste it, and you would get the Jabbit hole page that describes or whatever, and would probably give information. But from what I've seen, Jabbit hole is not very thorough. There's a lot of items. It just says, yeah, this item exists in game, but it doesn't tell you where to get it or anything. So I can't just easily click through here and see, oh, that's a vendor item, or oh, this comes from architecture or something like that. I would like that as an additional feature, but you know, there's a lot of work in keeping that updated as well. I mean, there's literally thousands of items in here, so it's just it would be a lot of work to put it all in. But you know, once you got it in there, then it would be good to go. Anywho, I think that is all for today. I know it's kind of a short show, but I've got some things I got to take care of in real life and in game. But I just wanted to kind of explain what all I did over the weekend so that it kind of catch you guys up. And of course, I wanted to go over different ideas for anyone else that might decide that they would like to have some kind of an Easter thing, be it a theme or an event for their guild or friends or whatever. There's lots of ways to go about it. You can either create your own eggs, which is the option I'm going to. But if you want to keep it cheap and easy and not have to give it much thought, the spider eggs and skug eggs are really nice because you have several different colors. There's the pink and the white and the purple. That's enough variation to kind of give your egg hunt a little bit of a difference there, so you're not just looking for the same egg over and over. But yeah, so probably tomorrow we'll look at adding some extra decoration. I'll just be finishing up like the garden pieces, seeing about more what I want to do with the white bench, and maybe tossing out some ideas as for additional features, like maybe we'll add a well, a water well type thing, maybe a small barn. Maybe I want an actual like vegetable garden kind of thing where there's like rows of plants or something. We'll discuss about different ways of doing that to like make some where you've like hoed ground or something to make it look like dirt, and different items you can use for that. Other little bits, different ways of using the foliage, like we use the bush as trees this time. You might have noticed this little kind of twiggy thing. This is actually the top of the ornate oran pillar thingy. I just sunk the whole thing down the ground. It's just the green bit showing. So little things like that, just to kind of mix it up so it's not the same trees that everybody always has. I'm probably going to add extra little bushes, so there's going to be brambles and bits out here, because again, I'm looking to try and create as many little hidey spots for eggs that I can, just so that they have to really hunt and look for them. So excuse me. So we'll be working on adding lots of extra decoration to facilitate that in a way that once the day comes that I get to plant all of these eggs everywhere, then I can, have, it's not just these little flower beds, maybe put one here, but, also, have some kind of feature here that I can plant one or two, I'm gonna be obvious with some and not so obvious with others. I might have one just sitting right here on this little hill, out in plain view, and then have some others kind of really hidden, or, you know, who knows where they might have to go to find one or something. So I just want to keep it where they have to kind of explore the plot, um, but keep it fun too. I don't want to make it too hard, but not too easy as well, because I do want to, give them a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today. I certainly had fun coming up with ideas and experimenting with different bits, and of course, sharing a little bit of my meager knowledge about the add-ons that I use. Mostly it's just hands-on kind of learning. I think if you just load them up, try them out, experiment with them, do it on a plot that you're not like completely attached to. Do it like on an empty alts plot. Just play around with different, uses of the tools. Get familiar with it, and then when you're comfortable, then you can start, expanding your use of them. But I don't know how in touch Lament is with anyone that's been using their add-on. I know there's a couple of threads that you might can post in, but I haven't seen any real recent activity on that. But you could still try it. But Katia, for sure, she's very helpful in the way that if you have a problem with it, like if you're getting a lot of errors, or having trouble getting it to work, just period, nothing is working like you think it should be, she's more than happy with trying to explain it. While she is NA and it might be a little bit more trouble to get into contact with her on EU side, she is very accessible through the forums and stuff, so you can drop her a PM there or just discuss it in several of her threads that cover the add-on. She's also very, very open to any suggestions of things that you would like to see added to the add-on. If there's a feature that you wish you could do, she's more than happy to take that into consideration. I know for a fact she's probably got, literally pages and pages of suggestions that she's working on incorporating, but just hasn't gotten to it. And just as a kind of to help spur her, I myself and several others have tried to encourage her to set up some updated demo tutorial kind of videos. She does have one, but it's like way, way, way in the beginning, where it was like the very first like version of her add-on. So there's been tons that's been added since then, so it's very out of date, but it's a good place to start if you're just getting familiar with her add-on. But if you feel like you would really like to see more of that and would find it helpful, definitely let her know how important some actual updated video toots or whatever would be, something you would really like, and maybe that will spur her or someone else to take up the initiative in explaining just what all the features there are available, how to use them, in what situations they work best, that kind of thing. But for myself, I don't feel confident enough. I think I would probably confuse people more often than not. I just do things that I've done enough where I know it works for me, but it might not work for everybody. It might not be comfortable. Like I said, I use a combination of Laments and Katia, so I switch between the two pretty fluidly, just depending on the situation. But a lot of people just want to use Katia, so I think it would be better if her or someone else that's more knowledgeable about the add-on would be the one to explain it and actually do some tutorial videos. I'm happy to show how I do it, but like I said, I don't think that's something that we want to shout on the rooftops, because I don't want to give anybody some bad habits on how to use the add-on the improper way. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, if you really would like to have something like that, available, let her know, because I think the more people that express the desire for that, the more inclined she might be to really focus on getting that sorted out. I do know she does classes, and in fact, there is, I think it's Dr. Leskov is holding some classes on KBT, Katya's Builder Toolkit add-on, on entity side. I don't know if they have any plans of expanding that eventually, but if you're interested in something like that and have access to entity, check it out. It's also in the resources section on my Twitch channel page. They have a thread in the forums discussing it, talking about, I think it's every Wednesday afternoon. Of course, the time would be a little poor for Europeans, but if it's something you're interested in, you might, look into it, or at least let them know that you would really like something like that set up on EU side, and maybe someone will make that happen. But again, I don't think I'm in any position to really offer that kind of stuff. Just the little bits that I show here, and even that I'm a little nervous about sharing because I don't want to confuse people, but I know what works for me and how I use it, and I'm comfortable telling that. But as far as going into full detail on the add-on itself, just completely dedicating some shows to that, that's not really the best thing that I could do. I think I would make it worse. So yeah. So tomorrow we'll be back to this plot. We'll work on some just regular decorating, and then Wednesday, of course, we have house tours coming up. It's Dominion's turn this week. I have several lovely, lovely homes in line for us to tour. So I hope, if nothing else, you guys will join us for that. And then we'll see what comes from there. I kind of keep the plan loose. Don't want to set myself in stone anytime. So. But yeah, thanks for joining. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a few things. And I hope you come back. Spread the word to your other housing fan friends if they're looking for some videos or something that will help them. The tours are really the biggest thing probably for most, because it does show all the creativity, the possibilities of housing. That's really, I think, the thing that astounds most people. But definitely, if you know someone that's looking for inspiration, that's having trouble coming up with ideas, or just want a little nudge, or just, to show them, that anything really is almost literally possible. You dream it up, you could probably build it. Definitely encourage them to check out the tours. I know my hour's a little off for a lot of people, especially NA, but that's why I archive everything, so you can watch it whenever. If you happen to be at work, I do have those that watch them at work, and in fact I have a few that actually join in on the chat while they're at work. I'd love to know if their bosses know that they're doing that, but hey, more power to them. I'm glad they can join in. But yeah, so we're going to head off. Again, have a great day. Good luck with your own projects, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.